How to move on after a breakup. Tips for finding a better partner. How to move past a breakup when you gave everything but received indifference in return can feel overwhelming. Maybe you devoted yourself completely, treated her with respect and affection, only to end up feeling like a fool. It's natural to feel defeated, and perhaps even unwilling to open your heart again. I don't blame you. A viewer's recent comment reminded me of a man I coached years ago who hit rock bottom after a painful split. He was so heartbroken that he questioned his own worth. But his journey, let's call it Stan's story, offers useful lessons not only for healing but for finding someone even more compatible down the road. Here's Stan's situation. He met Ashley, not her real name, a woman who seemed perfect, warm, attractive, and fun-loving. They clicked immediately and spent all their free time together, sharing laughs and making memories. She introduced him to her family and friends, and everything seemed to be falling into place. Stan truly believed she was the one. Then subtle changes began. Ashley grew less available. She skipped plans, claimed to be exhausted or swamped with work, sometimes offering no clear reason for pulling back. Faced with her distance, Stan did what many do. He doubled down on affection. He thought, if I compliment her more, shower her with gifts and attention, she'll come back. But instead of reeling her in, this behavior overwhelmed her. She felt smothered, even more drained, and unintentionally recoiled further. You might recognize the familiar phrase, I need space. If you've ever heard that in a relationship, you know it can feel like a gut punch. In most cases, it's not about punishing you. It's simply her way of saying she's emotionally overwhelmed and needs room to think. Understanding this subtlety is key, recognizing that her withdrawal was about her own boundaries, not a judgment on Stan's worth. Desperate to fix things, Stan began canceling work commitments, skipping gym sessions, and neglecting friends, all for the chance to be near Ashley. Of course, these sacrifices only widened the gap between them. Soon, the great moments they once shared vanished completely. Finally, Ashley suggested a break or a transition to friendship. She said she cared about him, but she wasn't sure she could keep giving what he needed. Feeling rejected and wounded, Stan reacted in the moment. Fine, we're done. That's the difference between responding thoughtfully and reacting emotionally. He immediately regretted his harsh words, but his heartbreak and loneliness kept him trapped in a negative spiral. He replayed only the good times, stubbornly ignoring any signs that their relationship had problems. His confidence plummeted, and begging for another chance felt impossible. He knew desperation would only push her further away. If you relate to Stan's story, take heart. Healing starts with understanding these patterns, recognizing your own emotional triggers, respecting boundaries, and learning the distinction between a reactive outburst and a calm, considered response. In the next steps, you'll discover how to rebuild your self-esteem, find balance in how you show care, and ultimately attract a partner who values you just as much as you value her. Stan has come to a significant realization. Perhaps it's time for him to step back from pursuing romantic relationships with women. He feels overwhelmed by the thought of enduring another heartbreak like the one he experienced with Ashley. Does this situation resonate with you? If so, I encourage you to share your own experiences in the comments section. You'll find that the community, often referred to as the Wingman Fam, is incredibly supportive and can provide valuable feedback. Remember, even if you feel isolated in your struggles, you are not alone. Many others have faced similar challenges, and by sharing your story, you may receive encouragement from those who have successfully navigated their own paths to healthier, happier relationships. Some may even be single and content, which is perfectly fine. Now let's delve into the steps Stan took, based on my advice, to move past his breakup with Ashley and potentially find a more suitable partner. What was the core issue? It's clear that Stan lost a sense of himself in his relationship with Ashley. This mirrors a comment from one of my recent viewers, who mentioned that he made his partner feel overly secure and almost idolized her. You may have heard me say before that placing someone on a pedestal can lead to them looking down on you. However, the more pressing issue was not just that Stan made Ashley feel too secure. It was that he himself lacked confidence within the relationship. He likely perceived Ashley as being out of his league, which can lead to a desperate and needy demeanor, traits that are generally unattractive to women. Women are particularly attuned to how they perceive potential long-term partners. Let me clarify, women's primary need, and indeed everyone's need, is to feel safe and secure. This encompasses physical, emotional, financial, and spiritual safety. Given that women are often seen as the physically weaker sex, their need for security is heightened. When Stan neglected his own well-being, it inadvertently made Ashley feel insecure about their future together. Women, whether consciously or subconsciously, recognize that we all make mistakes, and when Stan prioritized Ashley's desires over his own well-being, he undermined her trust in his ability to remain rational, logical, and responsible. Is irresponsibility appealing? Certainly not. It's important to acknowledge that, whether due to biological or social factors, men and women exhibit different strengths and weaknesses. While these dynamics are evolving, especially among younger generations, many traditional differences still influence our dating and relationship experiences. A crucial point to remember is that women need men to exhibit strength in areas where they may not be as strong. For instance, when Stan chose to abandon his friends to spend time with Ashley, it demonstrated a lack of emotional responsibility. Relying solely on a partner for social interaction is unhealthy and fosters dependency. Is being overly dependent attractive? Not really. Similarly, when Stan neglected his job to be with Ashley, it reflected a lack of financial responsibility and commitment to his career. Furthermore, when he skipped gym sessions to prioritize time with her, it indicated a disregard for his own health. The question arises, what will happen in the future? Will he continue to prioritize being with Ashley at the expense of his own well-being and responsibilities? It's essential to maintain a balanced life, where personal health, friendships, and career commitments are not sacrificed for the sake of a relationship. Taking care of one's own health is crucial, and it's important to consider how this impacts one's physical appearance. For Ashley, Stan's physique might have been an appealing aspect, just as her beauty was a significant attraction for him. However, when Stan purchased items for Ashley that were beyond his financial means, or even when he could afford them but should have been saving for more important matters, it highlighted his lack of financial responsibility. Now you might be wondering about the concept of gold diggers. Are these the types of women you envision for a long-term relationship? Probably not. When you elevate a woman to a pedestal, she may begin to look down on you. This is because women often reflect your own feelings about yourself. If Stan treated Ashley as if she were superior to him, even if he didn't consciously believe that, it would lead her to subconsciously question what he knows that makes her better than him. Even if Ashley didn't perceive any hidden flaws in Stan, the fact that he placed her above him would suggest to her that he wasn't recognizing her true self. Every individual has imperfections, and for a relationship to thrive, it's essential for both partners to acknowledge and accept each other's flaws. We all desire to be loved for who we genuinely are, including our imperfections. If you can't see someone as a complete person, flaws and all, it may feel as though you're not truly appreciating them. So, how do you move past this? It's important to focus on yourself and your own needs first. This might sound selfish, especially if you haven't prioritized this in the past, but it's essential. Think of the analogy of putting on your own oxygen mask before assisting others. Remember, Ashley is not your primary need. If you find yourself thinking that way, it's crucial to shift your mindset. You should always prioritize your own needs, be it financial stability, career satisfaction, health, social life, spirituality, or charitable endeavors. Aim to cultivate a well-rounded life as if you were going to be single indefinitely, even if you are currently in a relationship. This independence and self-sufficiency are attractive qualities. Focus on what you can control, build a social life, improve your health, enhance your financial situation, find fulfillment in your career, and revisit hobbies you may have neglected during your relationship. Reassess your previous goals, and if you didn't have any, it's time to set some. A man with a sense of purpose is appealing. The more balanced you are across these various aspects of life, the more attractive you will be to a wider range of women. If you're feeling lost and unsure of where to begin, I understand. You can either identify the most pressing issue you've been neglecting and tackle that first, or focus on the problem that could escalate if left unaddressed. Alternatively, you might consider my Wake Up to Love program, which provides a structured approach to help you determine your top priority and offers a step-by-step guide on how to address it. To address each of those aspects, I want to clarify something. If you followed my program and it didn't yield the results you expected, it's likely because you didn't put in the necessary effort. Part of that effort involves regular review and practice. Just like you wouldn't take your car to the mechanic once and expect it to run perfectly forever, unless, perhaps, it's a Tesla, which might be a different story, you also can't expect to visit the gym just a single time and achieve lasting fitness. Maintaining your health is an ongoing process that requires consistent attention. Let's talk about Stan. He came to the realization that he felt unworthy of his girlfriend, Ashley, and he understood that something needed to change. This prompted him to focus on self-improvement. For Stan, the top priority was to return to the gym. He had once been in excellent shape but had let himself slip, which affected both his physical appearance and his inner well-being. As soon as he began working out again, his confidence started to rise. Remarkably, within just a few months, Stan found himself in a new relationship, one that was even better suited for him. Moreover, the gym became a constructive outlet for him to channel his frustrations regarding his previous relationship. As he regained his sense of normalcy and boosted his self-esteem, he was also able to address other areas of his life that he had either overlooked or neglected while he was so focused on Ashley. This is where our current viewers might experience an enlightening moment. By prioritizing his own needs, Stan not only moved on from Ashley but also began to feel more positive about himself and his life overall. It's important to note that while it took some time for Stan to stop missing certain aspects of his relationship with Ashley, he eventually gained clarity. He recognized that they were not a good match. There were elements of their relationship that didn't align with his personal goals, values, and dreams. It's easy to overlook these things when you find someone who is a great companion, but it's crucial to stay true to what you want in life. A key takeaway from Stan's journey is that as he engaged in activities aimed at his own growth and well-being, many of which required him to step outside of his comfort zone, his self-perception improved significantly. By taking meaningful actions in the areas of his life that mattered most, he not only enhanced his overall quality of life but also increased his confidence and perceived value as a man. Importantly, this transformation meant that he no longer came across as needy or desperate, because he genuinely wasn't in that state anymore. If the Stan I'm referring to happens to be watching this, I encourage you to share your story in the comments. Your experience could inspire and motivate others. And for those who haven't yet tried my program, I highly recommend you give it a shot. Thank you for being here, and may you be blessed.